It's a podcast that will hopefully bring perspective on life situations, life relationships. What else? What am I missing?
Self-healing, self-growth, different type of development for yourself, because it starts with you, right? It's not just about pouring into other people's cups, but most importantly, pouring into your own cups first. So,
All right. With that being said, obviously, like I started off the last one, we are not professionals, obviously, right? If at any point you are going through a difficult time in your life, we do recommend that you seek out professional help. This is just a podcast based on our life experiences, things that have worked for us to get us to where we are today. And hopefully, the tools that we talk about here and tools that we provide for you guys may help you reach that point in life that you want to get to. But with that being said, podcast number 2 has begun.
sorry for the technical difficulties, guys, but we're having issues connecting both devices to the screen. And us girls with our ankles, so I'm not comfortable. So you guys can hear me, you guys can ask questions. I'm here. I'm literally I'm watching his face on the podcast from my device, but whenever I
Welcome
join, there's a lot of static because we're in the same room. But yeah.
So today's podcast is going to be basically encompassing overall self-healing. I know that was a question that was asked a lot in the first podcast, right? We spoke about the things that we feel are needed in order to progress yourself from a situation where you're feeling down to get you back to normality. And with that, we're going to touch on topics like physical things you can do, mental things you can do that can begin to help you make that process moving forward.
Yeah, sorry. Please don't forget to tap the screen. It definitely helps the live, helps us get us going too. Just let them put that out there.
Welcome in, Josh.
But thank you guys for everybody who's joined the podcast. This is our second one, as you mentioned. And last podcast, we did have a request from a few that wanted us to touch a little bit on self-healing, not generalized to like any relationships or any impacts happening outside of like relationship, but most just healing in general. I think that life these days goes by very, very very, very fast, that we don't take sometimes a moment to stop and say, you know what, let me do something for myself. We're too busy out in the world doing things for everyone else, and most of the times we're forgetting about ourselves without like understanding the importance of how important it is to take care of you first before taking care of anyone else. Just a little bit on that. I'll say that I've had different situations in my life, and I'm so sorry guys for not showing my face again right now. But I've gone through so many different things, relationships, childhood stuff, different type of things, and it took a very long time to understand that one of the first things in terms of healing is boundary setting, and being able to understanding that it's okay to say no to things that drain your energy, to things that make you feel anxious. That make you feel anxious, that make you feel out of place, because a lot of times we're pouring into cups that are leaving us drained. And that's a big no. So that was one of the hardest things that I had to learn. I had to learn to let go, to disconnect, to pull myself away from people and things. As much as I love these people, from people and things that drained my energy to the point where I'm laughing because of
I'm reading the comments too.
Remove myself from people and situations that would just bring a negative impact into my life, as much as that would hurt. So those are some of the things that I've gone through. So like the learning to say no for me has been like one of the hardest things for me to do is to say no to the people that I love, to remove myself from places and people that were draining my energy, harming my mentality. Because they say, surround yourself with five unmotivated people, you'll be the sixth one. And it was learning little by little that I had to remove myself from those circumstances and situations versus feeding into it. That helped me kind of get out and change my like mindset in terms of like seeking growth and like, hey, how do I get better? What are things that I can do to improve on myself? Whether it was working out, whether it was reading, whether it was a simple getting up and making a green juice, little different changes in habits and day to day behaviors is what's helped me a little bit.
And from my perspective, so I had a long relationship, and I knew that it was over, right, to an extent, but no side really wanted to, I guess, pull the trigger in a sense, right? We, no one wanted to go and file, even though we knew that this wasn't going to work out. So eventually that day did come for me. And when that day came, once you go through your depression stages and stuff, and you start to realize, okay, now there's going to be a big change in my life, especially in relationships where maybe kids are involved and stuff like that, which was my situation. We tend to generally focus on not so much the outside of that situation. For me, I tended to focus more on my kids, right? And that was, I'm not going to say it was a bad thing, right? Because the kids are always supposed to be first when you're going through a separation. But I never gave myself the time to heal. I started making steps as far as like healing. So I started reading. I started to become more in depth, in tune with myself and things that I wanted to do for myself. But I was just so generally focused on my daughters that my healing process started taking a lot longer than it should have. And once the divorce was finalized, I found myself in a state of despair, right? I had people that I had worked on, or not worked on, but I had people that I had met that were giving me information, people that were telling me things that I should try to attempt to do to start working on my own self healing. But because I was still generalized, I was mentally still stuck in that type of atmosphere. Unfortunately, in the state that I'm in, going through a divorce, you can't just have somebody leave, right? Uh, Once the divorce is final, then that's usually when you go through your separation. When there's a home and kids involved, the courts usually do not separate you guys immediately. So my processing as far as like healing was very difficult because as I'm trying to heal, the person that was causing the trauma I have to see every day. So it's like a state of confusion that I had to experience, and it was something that I've never experienced before in my life. And there were dark times. There were times where I'm like, I don't think I can do this. And the way I heal, my healing is different than most because usually I attach to individuals and I try to kind of like feed off of them. And this kind of goes back to the first podcast where we're talking about like energy vampires and stuff. I couldn't physically function without having someone next to me that had some sort of positive activity or positive outlook on life. I was at to the point mentally where I was just checked out completely from myself, my life, and I use my kids to kind of, I guess, keep me afloat, which I thank God every day that I have the two daughters that I do have because they were a blessing to me. And in my times where I felt like I couldn't go on, they knew that I needed them. So they're very huge inspiration to the reasons why I'm doing this now. A lot of people don't realize that, there are good times, there's bad times, but when it comes to like kids being involved in your life, they're usually the leading motivation for why you want to change your life. Now, like I said, I'm not going to say I was ever perfect because I wasn't, right? Everyone has their flaws, everyone has their tendencies, but the the hard part is realizing and being accountable for what you did, right? You may not think it was bad in your eyes, but to whoever that person is that you were hurting, or whoever was hurting you, to them, it may have been. So being accountable on the things that you do when you're in a relationship, whether that's friendships, marriage, girlfriend, boyfriend, we have to start holding accountability for the things we do. And when you can't find ways to hold accountability for yourself, I think that's when you come to a standstill in life. You're just stuck in that same environment of, oh, it wasn't me. And it creates that sort of a, like a victim mentality, you would say. You wanna?
Yeah. No, I mean, I love that you touched on that topic. You know that I'm very, that's a very near and dear topic to myself, because you just touched on acceptance, right? And part of healing is not just saying, you know what, I'm just gonna set boundaries and that's it. No, you set boundaries, but you're also accepting what's happening, whether it's a loss of a friendship, whether it's a loss of a job, whether it's a loss of a relationship. You have to accept, hey, this happened. It happened for whatever reasons, right? We can't get stuck on the why is this happening to me. If we choose to stay stuck on the why is this happening to me, why me again, why, we're never gonna grow, we're never gonna excel, we're never gonna come out of that dark place. Instead is, what is this trying to teach me? So that's something that I really had to tell myself after maybe a few weeks of crying in my room, of being sad, of being upset. I had to I can't live a life like this. I can't live a life where I'm just sad, where I'm just blaming people for what's happening to me. What is this trying to teach me? What do I have to change within myself? And it's not going to be the way I love. It's not going to be the way I care about people. But what are things that life is trying to tell me that I need to grow about myself in order to continue growing and moving forward? So acceptance was part of my healing process as well. Understanding that there's things that I might have done that I'm not responsible for somebody's actions, right? But we also need to make sure that we're not enabling somebody's behavior. And looking back at my experiences, there's times where I feel like I enabled individuals to treat me the way that they did, because I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know how to put my self-worth first and set boundaries to where it's like, okay, no, this is enough. This is it. Very different, situation for me because I don't have kids, so I understand the difficulties of what you went through and everything, but I definitely give you kudos for being able to use that as your fuel to pull through and not staying stagnant in the same place and just kind of shutting down and letting the world pass by you while you just stay in the same place. So kudos to you there. But yeah, for me it's self-acceptance, also part of healing, which is what got me to educate myself a lot in different topics. Self-growth, narcissism, self-worth. One of my very, very first books that I read in order for me to get out of that funk, because I was just feeling down just with life in general, was Trent Shelton, The Best You. This book was recommended to me by my best friend, my first audible ever. And he had gone through many different obstacles, and just seeing his mentality and his energy to continue to grow through what he was going through was just, to me, I'm like, you know what, this guy was supposed to be a football player and he's still doing it, after he can't play. So many different things that we can, I would say, feed our mind with positive things versus sticking to the victim mentality. Because when we choose to stay in that mentality, I feel like you just kind of regress your growth instead of progressing it. So that's my 2 cents on that.
We also fail to realize that when it comes to closure, it's not the person that the person that hurt us or caused the trauma that we need that closure from. We need to understand that we're the ones that set the closures and the expectations that we need to move on from that trauma. When we allow ourselves to believe that closure belongs to them and they're responsible for giving us the closure that we need, we leave ourselves in a dead space per se, right? Because we always know that when trauma happens and situations are very bad and things end, you're never going to get the closure that you're looking for. So why sit there and wait for someone to give you closure that might not even be what you're looking for, right? What you what I've learned to do is basically is like, okay, you know what? This happened, this happened, this happened. I had enough information here to understand that this is not going to work out. So I am comfortable now with where I am, and how do I find myself taking the steps and progress that I need to be the next version of me. Uh, we're always in a state of constant change. Nothing is ever going to be the same. As we grow and as we get older, things about us change, right? That's why it's never about how you start, it's how you finish. So as you progress in life, things change about you. What was bad about you maybe 5, 6 years ago in another relationship is not going to exist within you 5, 6 years later if you're doing the work that you need to do. You have to learn how to revisit situations and judge the situation not only from your side, but from the side of the person that you were with in that situation. You have to wear both sets of shoes. What you think is okay may not be okay for someone else. And that's touching back on what Diana was saying as far as setting boundaries, right? If I go to Diana and Diana doesn't like a certain thing, but if I constantly am doing it and Diana's making room for it, then in my mind, I'm thinking it's okay, even though in her mind, it's a boundary crosser. A lot of times we give too many people leeway in relationships that we shouldn't be giving. Okay. And it has nothing to do with, oh, maybe let me lower this standard because I care about him and I know he or she cares about me. It's going to be, no. When you set a boundary for yourself, you hold that boundary as high as you possibly can. Because once you allow those boundaries to diminish, your relationship begins to diminish as well. Okay. Respect should always be the number one key in a relationship. My past experience, respect was lost at a very early stage, and that lack of self-respect for one another, all it did was create years of trauma and years of arguments and years of fighting, right? And half the time the stuff just, it's, you think it's playful, right? You can still be playful and at the same time respect somebody's boundaries. We have to set standards in relationships. We have to set boundaries for whoever it is that we are with or whoever we're talking to, whether that's a relationship or a friendship. Boundaries are there to protect you, okay? Don't ever let somebody tell you that your boundaries are not valid, right? You set those boundaries for yourself because you know your self-worth and the standards that you're looking for in someone opposite of you.
Yeah.
I guess we can talk about like so like for overall healing, right? So me, I'm not really more of a like a pampering type of person, right? So
Yes, he
like
is. He's a vanidoso.
yeah, but I'm talking about as far as like the more like the physical stuff, right?
Gotcha.
So we as men don't realize how important it is to do things, right? So it's funny because as men we complain like, man, such and such, she's spending all this money to get her hair done. She's trying to get her nails done. Why does she need a spa? We don't understand that women are way ahead of us when it comes to the pampering stage and how important it is as far as building your self-worth. I had to learn that the hard way, right? I met people like Shane. I met people like your boy. You might see him in here. I met people like Diana. I met people like Rican who would tell me like, hey, do you do anything for yourself? Because I was literally work, home, shower, eat. That's it, right? I never set time for myself to do things that I wanted to do. And because I wasn't doing things that I wanted to do, I was miserable. And I didn't realize how much a Epsom salt bath or like a manicure, even a pedicure, get them dogs cleaned if you're a man. But it's just something about being able to take time, decompress, and relax. if we continue, if we continue to constantly be in a flux where we don't do these things for ourselves and we don't learn how to take care of ourselves, how do we expect someone to just come into our lives and care about us the way that we want to be cared about, but we don't take the time to do the things that we need to do to show that we care about ourselves, right? The world is only going to treat you the way you treat yourself. So if you don't respect yourself, if you're always talking negative about yourself, if you're not doing the things to stay well groomed, if you're not taking time to, decompress, time to relax, when you meet a person in your life, all they're going to do is treat you the way you're already treating yourself. So we have to start learning that our self-worth and the way we treat ourselves should always be number one priority. Once you start making those changes, you start noticing that people around you start making changes as well. You have to respect yourself. You have to love and care for yourself before you can ask anyone else to do it for you.
And I mean, to your point, that's not just physical, that's not just, just getting groomed. But you're basically in the stage of nourishing your body and mind as part of the healing process. What that means it could be anything for some people. For me, it was sleep. I hadn't slept like a good 8 hours in years. And I started sleeping. Like I was literally sleeping for days and people thought something was wrong with me. No, it was my body kind of just trying to nourish itself back to a place where it was unknown, but it was helping me just kind of get my thoughts straight. So the sleeping was helping me get better nutrition because I was waking up with energy to meal prep, to make my green juice, hydrate myself. I was doing a lot of journaling, self-work, and nourishing your body is also journaling. Doing meditations. Meditation could be in the morning, in the afternoon, whenever you feel like you need to just decompress and you want to just breathe in and out with a journal, without a journal, burn a paper, whatever the case may be for you. Like that is part of nourishing your body. Okay, we gotta get this camera working next time because the way you're looking at me.
They see how I'm looking at you. So what she's kind of touching on right here is she's talking about good habits.
Hi, Kayla.
And creating good habits in your life that can help you transition into this new process, right? Too many times we have bad habits already in life, whether that's eating unhealthy, staying up on just things that we shouldn't be doing. Our body is a temple, right? And we're supposed to take care of our temple just like you would take care of a vehicle that you just got brand new. Anything that you get brand new, if you usually take care of it for at least the first year before you're like, whatever. Your body's the same way. You should treat your body the same way. You always want to make sure that you create good habits and allow yourself ample time to do these habits, whether that's, hey, I need to get my 8 hours of sleep. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. I got to wake up at this time, be in bed by this time. Hey, I want to eat 3 times a day. Here are my set times for eating. I want to make sure I get this done. You want to set some sort of a normality in your life, some sort of a schedule. That way you can accomplish the things you want to accomplish in life. If I'm going to sleep at 4 a.m. knowing I got to wake up at 8 a.m., there's no way that my body's going to have enough time to recover and decompress from all the things that I just dealt with the day before. We have to set good habits. And like Diana was saying, I think her major habit for her when she was transitioning was the lack of sleep, because she wasn't able to get that sleep. And I think sleep is actually probably one of the biggest ones, because a lot of people don't really get sleep. You think that 4 hours is enough, but it really isn't.
Other people that I wanted to hear this message have left the chat. But there's a few of you in here that need the sleep. Yeah.
But when you set good habits for yourself, you create a foundation, a roadmap to a overall better version of you. You have to have the energy. You have to have the proper fuel to do the things you want to do to better your life.
No, absolutely. I'm laughing because you are literally going down not that there's a specific or a proper way to heal, but you're going through the steps of healing. And it's crazy to me that you're we didn't even talk about this to where we set it up. But what comes after you've nourished your body, you're starting to get yourself back into, yes, 7 to 8 hours of sleep, Kayla. Absolutely. I feel like people underestimate the importance of that. Um, and what comes after, like nourishing your body, stop, and getting rest, nourishing your body, getting rest, and doing like changing your habits, right? Changing those bad behaviors that you picked up for whatever reason into good habits is rebuilding your story, right? We all change. Like we're not gonna be the same person we were in five years ago. We're not gonna be the same person we were. There's constant change. The world is constantly changing. Obviously, your core values don't change, but you as a person, you have to continue growing. That's part of life. So rebuilding and reconnecting your life, whoever you want that person to be, whether it's, picking up a cycling class, the spin class, doing things that you weren't used to doing, going out for a walk, like I was doing 12K steps a day for an entire year. And honestly, like I felt my best. I did not feel drained. I did not feel tired. But it was just new things that I was picking up for myself that helped me and made me feel alive. Not that I don't, I still feel alive, but you know what I mean. Sorry. So pick up a new habit, go painting, go I don't know, go on a trip. I have been one, I think throughout my entire life that I have been spontaneous with like my decision making. I went on a Europe trip by myself and I think that has made one of the best experiences in my life. So that's my take on life. We go through things, but we grow through things. Just don't get stuck in that victim mentality that hinders you from continue to move forward in your growth because you're doing yourself a disservice. I know that there's many of us that want to put out so much into the world, that want to help people get through what they're going through, right? That want to support people, maybe be a resource of like support and things that can help them heal or just give examples of what you've gone through. But sometimes it's really hard to do that when we haven't poured into ourselves first. So just remember to love yourself first, because before you can love anyone else, you gotta love yourself first.
I was telling Diana today, you wouldn't invite somebody over to eat at your house if you don't have groceries. That's how life aspect is, right? I wouldn't invite someone into my circle that I know is looking for opportunities to self heal if I haven't made the work myself. How can I give someone information on doing a certain task or taking certain steps to do something if I haven't done the work myself? So we have to focus on ourselves first. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, it sounds very, what's the word I'm looking for? Selfish, right? But again, if you don't have proof to show that what you're doing is working, then what are we doing? We have to focus on ourselves. Self-love, self-worth is number one priority. Oh, but Manny, I have kids too, right? How can I be a better version of myself? How can I be a better dad for my kids if I'm mentally and physically incapable to do the things that they need from me? Self-worth and yourself should always come first. Work on yourself, and especially if you want to help others, right? Too many times we're giving other people information on how to handle a relationship, but you turn around and go back home and you're arguing with someone for an hour straight. Like there's such a hypocrisy when it comes to things like that. And I feel like a lot of times when I had situations in my previous relationships and stuff, and I would go looking for maybe an explanation, right? Or, hey, why is this like this? I'm sitting next to the person that I'm talking to. They're trying to give me information while they're talking to the person that they're with. So it's like, at what point do you like, okay, wait, this makes absolutely no sense. I'm taking information from someone that's trying to tell me what to do, but I have it clear as day right here that it's not working. So we have to learn to process and work on ourselves first before we start giving out information. 9 times out of 10, the people that try to help you are the problem. because they're giving you misinformation, because they think that because it works in their relationship, it's going to work in yours. Everyone is different. I can't assume that my situation is going to work for Diana and vice versa, right? Because everyone was raised differently, everyone has a different background, everyone has a different upbringing, and we have to find ways to properly communicate with one another to where it's the same baseline across, no matter what the situation is, right? Just like when you learn a different language, there's a baseline for a language, right? You have all your different slangs for that language, but there's literally a baseline for every language. In school, you're taught the baseline, correct? Because the baseline is going to get you what you need to get to in that language. Now, obviously, if you go visit whatever language country that you're learning that language from, like I said, they're going to have their slangs, that stuff that you pick up along the ride, but you have to have the foundation. Without the foundation, you're nothing. So we need to start building a very strong foundation for ourselves, and that's through boundaries and self-worth. Those are your two biggest. Those are going to be your two biggest keys to creating a very strong and stable foundation. You wouldn't put a skyscraper on top of a mudslide, you know what I'm saying, like a muddy foundation. So you have to treat yourself the same way we treat materialistic objects. Sounds selfish, but again, if you're not putting yourself first, then you're just wasting not only your time, but you're wasting the time of the people that you're trying to bring into your life.
And then to that point, don't let us tell you how to heal. I think everybody's healing journey is completely different for each individual. What I may like might not work for you. Walking may not be for you. Going to the gym may not be for you. Sleeping may not. Find what it is that your body needs, that your mind needs, that equals healing for you. Healing is not a straight line, right? There's times where I thought, I had done like consistent 8 months of work on myself. That was therapy, that was gym, that was feeding my mind positive things, that was sleeping, that was going for nature walks because I needed vitamin D because it does change your energy, it shifts your energy. And I thought, you know what, I'm good. Even at that, I was trying to shut down letting people into my life. It was really difficult. That there was still a lot of fear, and coming into a new relationship, I'm thinking, oh, you know what, I've done work, like I'm good. No, healing is not a straight line. There's still gonna be triggers that appear. There's still gonna be things that will pop up that will remind you, hey, I'm still in this process of healing. I'm still in this thing called life. The important thing there is to be able to communicate with your friends, with your partners, and voice exactly what you're feeling and going through, so that it's not new to them, or so that it's not taken as in like, hey, this person is just brushing me off, or they're going silent on me. Communicate it, because healing is not a straight line for anyone, and we can't sit here and tell you this is the right way. Because the right way for you is going to be whatever the right way for you is. Like I said, challenge yourself, try new things, see where you feel comfortable, where your body doesn't feel anxious. A lot of the ways that I started realizing things that were good for me and were not good for me is when I would put myself in situations and my body suddenly started feeling all this rush of anxiety. Guess what? That was no longer for me. If I used to like to go out before in social places and was a super happy person, right? But now I'm a super happy person at home reading, learning new things. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. That means that I'm just in a different place of my life. My healing journey has been different, and this is where I'm at now. So find your you, find whatever it is that works for you in terms of healing, whatever makes your body feel good, and make those consistent habits to remove whatever negatives you have in your life. I keep looking at the camera like I'm looking at them. That's why you're looking at me.
Kind of touch on that too. I think too often we feel that when we're in a new relationship, It's that person's job to help us heal. And that causes a lot of stress in a new relationship specifically, because we're going in with the expectation of being fixed instead of the expectation of someone helping us through that process, being more of a support system than your psychologist. We have to take time to heal between relationships. If you're just jumping from one relationship to another relationship, hoping that that next person is going to heal you, you're just setting yourself up for disaster. A lot of times I see people that do that, they jump over, and because they're so addicted to love bombing, or the what we call the honeymoon factor, right?
Honeymoon stage.
The honeymoon stage in a relationship, which is usually that 3 months. It's like that first 3 months, give or take.
Yeah, basically.
So a lot of people enjoy that I guess I want to say it's like a high, right? The first 3 months is the honeymoon stage. Everything's going fine. Oh, yay! He loves me. I love him. Then you get to that fourth month, and it's like, bam! You just smack the wall. Oh, this person. Wait, how come this person's different from the first 3 months? Well, you spent so much time being all delulu because you were having all this fun. Now that you've gotten to the fourth month, oh, what's that? That's my trauma creeping back into this relationship. Wait, why is it? Wait, why is this happening? Why is that? When you don't take the time to self heal and you're just jumping from relationship to relationship, you don't give yourself time to work on the things that ultimately either disassembled your previous relationship. And we have to learn that self-worth and yourself has to be first. Obviously there is no time frame, right, when it comes to healing. I've seen people take 2 years. I met somebody that says take some 5 business days, whatever that is. Take the time to do whatever it is you have to do to get over that previous relationship. 9 times out of 10, infidelity and stuff happens because when somebody jumps from one relationship to another relationship without doing the healing and the self-work on the traumas that they occurred, they're jumping into a new relationship still being in love with the previous person, right? And you're setting yourself up for disaster when you don't process things that you went through to make sure that the next choices you make in life are the right choices. You tend to go back to things where you it's like complacency, right? You tend to go back where you felt, oh well, in this relationship he did all this or she did all this, but man, they love me, right?
Can I chime in?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think also like the biggest thing is you're attracting what you still are, right? So you're becoming trauma bonded to the same situations because you haven't done the healing, because you haven't done the work. You're leaving yourself open to the same type of situations coming to you. Why? Because you're still not recognizing that certain behaviors are not okay. And this isn't just around relationships. This is about friendships. This is around friendships. This is around family members. This is around anyone that you allow into your circle. If you don't do the work, you can easily become a victim again of that same circumstance because you are trauma bonded to situations. Sometimes, when you come across people, you're connecting out of these negative stories, these negative situations, circumstances, that once you start doing work in yourself, you're like, oh, why is this person still talking about that? Mm-hmm. Why? Because they haven't done the work, right? They're still stuck in the same situation. So it's really important for you to do work on yourself in order to not become a victim of like same patterns, same behaviors, and come across the same type of situations that you have in the past, so that's my 2 cents on that. I feel like you become trauma bonded, especially in relationships. When you meet somebody that maybe isn't healed as well, lust can easily turn into a trauma bond. And then once you're out of it, you're like, wait, do I really love this person? Like, am I really in love? Like, do I
Was it,
really care? Or was it just because of how I was feeling in the moment?
do I love this person for who he is, or do I love him for what he did?
Yeah.
I can't remember what's that called? There's a certain, has anybody ever seen like a vehicle, right? And you've never seen it on the street, but once you look up this vehicle that you want, now all of a sudden it's everywhere. You see it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. Do you know? I can't remember what that's called. Can you look that? What's? I don't know what it's called. Oh my gosh. It's a not a disorder, but it's a. Anyways, I'll let her look that up. But it's the same thing when it comes to people, right? So if I'm stuck in a negative mindset, the only thing that I'm gonna see while I'm in tunnel vision is negative mindset doors, right? So as I'm going through this tunnel because I have a negative mindset, that's all I'm looking for. So as I'm meeting new people, I'm meeting people that are basically in the same mindset that I am in. So if I'm depressed, I'm meeting people that are depressed. Um, we have to learn to stop using tunnel vision when it comes to repairing self-worth and ourselves, because we're only allowing what it is we're thinking about. Did you find it?
Frequency of illusion?
Yeah, I think there's a second name for it too. So we have to start looking for positive things in life that will help get us out of that negative aspect that we're going through. And that was the hardest thing for me because I secluded myself like completely. I cut off everybody. I had no one to talk to. I had basically, it was just me in my room trying to battle whatever situations I was battling on my own. And unfortunately, like I said, some people, we all have different ways of healing and stuff. And it wasn't until I realized that mentally I do not have the aptitude to heal on my own. Right. I don't know what it is, or I haven't gotten to the point where I can do stuff on my own because I'm not mentally strong enough to deal with those situations on my own. So I'm the type of person that I have to like outsource people that have positive mindsets. I'm very like, okay, like, oh wow, I'm not the type that, how did you get that? I want to know how you got to where you got, because I want to make those implementations in my life so I can be a better version of myself. But I can't do that if I'm hanging around a group of people that are going through the same stuff as me, right? So we have to learn that we need to have variety in our lives and not just one sample of whatever it is that we're going on. So it's fine to have a friend that's going through a similar situation that you are, but it's even more beneficial to have a friend that has an amazing relationship, right? Or the friend that does whatever they want to do because they're not in that point of their lives yet. You want to have a variety of people around you. You don't want to keep the same energy consistent around you because it traps you in that stage of your life. And as I started rebuilding friendships, and people are going to think I'm crazy, this app for me was a godsend, right? This app allowed me to meet people that had different types of mindsets, that there weren't the same mindset that I had. And I started asking myself, how can I get there? What is it that I have to do to get there? And I've gotten lucky because I was able to find people that stimulated me mentally and, overall showed that they cared and they concerned about my overall mental health, and they helped me kind of make those steps. Like, they didn't give me like a plan on how to do it, but they gave me information that I could take in, read and make those steps to better myself. We spend so much time being complacent with the lives that we have when there's just so much that we can do. And like, again, like, you can't be stagnant, right?
I mean, can I add?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, it's my turn. To add to his point, like, yes, I think the app can be great, right? And to my point of like, not
Uh-oh.
everybody feels the same. Not everybody goes through the same process. The process is different for everyone. That's why it's so important to educate yourself on different topics and read and learn, YouTube, whatever the case may be. Because the same way that it could be a blessing, it can also do you a disservice. Reason being, I have met many people, creators, um, guests, just people's in the chat that yes, they offer a hand. I want to say to support you when you're going through something, but pay close attention of them not wanting to keep you in those circumstances. Some people don't want you to get out of what you're going through because you become a comfort for them. You're there for them, and you're there for their benefit, not for your growth. That's why it's important as much, it's important for you to, again, put yourself first, be selfish about your self growth. And yes, it's, get guidance and support from different people. Just be mindful that the moment that things start feeling weird, you're able to pull out from that. Because there's been people, on this app, that I have seen want to keep you in that same mindset because in that mindset, you're their support system.
I call it trauma bombing.
Yes.
It's like love bombing, but what they do is they use your traumas to keep you there. Oh, I see you're doing better, but do you remember when this and this happened and you came to me?
Mm-hmm.
If anybody ever throws your past traumas in your face, that's not someone that you want to be around because that's someone that's more focused on what they can get out of you than what you're getting out of them. But that's probably a different topic for another day.
Kayla, yeah, we did. And we came across a lot of people and even friendships. I feel friendships that are built off of like, hey, I'm phoning you, I'm calling you, I'm telling you how I'm feeling. But at the moment that they start seeing you do good, getting out of that dark space, if they're not happy for you, then that really wasn't your circle. If somebody isn't happy for you because you're out of that negative mindset, if you're out of the the anxious episode of your life, some of us go through highs and lows. Like I'm very up and down, right, with my anxiety. A lot of it has to do with work. These days, sorry, you never know who's watching. A lot of it has to do with that type of stuff, and you can hear her biting. So just make sure, guys, be mindful of who your circle is. If you're not getting celebrated because you're doing good, if people are not smiling because you're happy, then that wasn't your circle. That was people benefiting from you being down, from your downfall, and they wanted to keep you there. So just make sure that to know your self-worth, keep growing, keep going, and yeah, your turn. Hello?
Okay, so we've touched on basically good habits, doing pampering stuff, self-worth. What else do you think?
I don't know, what else would you guys like to hear? We took suggestions, and sorry again for not being on camera today. Next Sunday, because we didn't do a full session this Sunday. No, next Sunday I will be on camera. Change your plans. He keeps moving the camera. We will go live again this upcoming Sunday. So we are open to suggestions. What type of topics you guys want to hear? Anything that you guys. We also have what is that thing called? The thing where we get suggestions and it's anonymous.
Oh, telling them. I don't know how to pronounce that. I need to find something better.
Tell something where you guys can shoot us a DM or put suggestions here. Anything that you guys would want to hear us talk about. Everything we talk about is either life related, like experience related to what we've gone through, or suggestions that we've had from somebody in the chat. It's always anonymous. We'll never share who shared what or who asked us to speak on a certain topic. But yeah, we're open to like any suggestions of what you guys would like to hear us talk about.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Do you want? that video that we saw
What video?
about grieving
I see a lot of videos.
on
I'm so
X
sorry. Well, we can talk about that next Sunday.
next Sunday?
Like, how long does it take to grieve an ex? Or, like, how long is too long to grieve an ex? Yeah. Yeah, so we have a lot of different topics going on. I'll go live after this, Kayla. Hi, can someone send me a video on grieving? Oh, we'll send it to you, Jean Jacket. Welcome in, Vivian.
Okay.
But yeah, we're open to any suggestions.
Yeah. Like I said, and then as we start to take off too, like I don't want to call it testimonies because I feel like that's like too churchy, but we do
Guest speakers.
we want to do guest speakers, right?
Yes.
We do want to create a sort of like a forum where people can talk about their situations. Again, like my situation is specific to me, just like Diana's situation is specific to her. And just because we have what happened to us, it isn't the same for everyone, right? A lot of times we're so scared to speak on things that happen to us because nobody speaks about those things, correct? So I feel like it's very the power of voice is very impactful on people's lives, because once you start hearing people that you know or people that you talk to talk about the experiences that they had, I feel like it lights a fire under us, right? It gives us the ability to talk about the situations that we had. Point in case, I'm sorry, I'm not picking on you, but Diana, right? A year ago, she wouldn't be able to be on a podcast talking about the stuff that happened to her in her life, right? She's done the work and she's done everything she can, and she's surrounded herself around people that have had similar situations so much to where like now she's so comfortable, right? Being able to talk about her story. She's learned to grow, and she's become someone stronger in her life as far as from like the mental perspective. And I applaud her because again, when I first met Diana, this was never something that she would have even thought about doing. Am I right?
No, I've always cared about like helping people through like stuff, right? But never with my face on it. So yeah, it's interesting.
But we want to create like who's that? Was that Perla?
Perla.
Right? You want to create sort of a safe space. And again, like I have touched on things you want to create a safe space for everyone to talk about what they're talking about.
Just to piggyback on what you were just saying, okay. When I met Mofongo, his entire world just revolved around his daughters, and it still does, right? His number one priority is his daughters, but he had no life outside of working and his daughters. So in this last year, I would say seeing him like just grasp so much, learn so much, going through the things that he was going through, like that's amazing. Being able to speak on it, like it's really hard for a man to speak about their emotions because it's not the first thing that is taught to you. Not just for a man, but also for a Hispanic, being raised Hispanic or minority. We're not taught to speak about what we are feeling, what we go through. Men's even more so. It's not common to hear them speak about their vulnerabilities and what they've gone through. That is a freaking strength. So you've done so much in the last year that you should be proud of. You have grown so much through everything that you've gone through, and your road has not been straight. Your road has been a freaking roller coaster for the last 3 years. So you should be proud of yourself.
Let's not make me cry time, okay? So back to what I was saying. We want to create a safe space for everyone, right? But I want to create a safe space with variety.
Hi,
I don't want us to be in a situation where we're all just trauma bonding, right? I want to have all
A growing community.
a growing community, a growing variety of people. I want people to be able to communicate with one another and help each other. Like I said, this is an opinionated platform. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, and that's the number one thing we're looking for, because we want to have people who have had very different experiences, but not only different experiences, but have found ways to get themselves out of those situations. Everyone's healing process is different. I want to hear everyone's healing process, because what doesn't work for me may have worked for someone else, and what worked for someone else may work for you. I want to create an outlet that can be beneficial to those that are in need, and even like a refresher, right, to those who have found themselves out of that situation but need to re-understand, like, hey, yes, I was in that situation, I got out of that situation 3+ years ago, but man, it's been 3 years and I've already forgot that my self-worth is number one priority. How many times do we get out of a situation and we say, oh yeah, that's never going to happen again? 3 months later, we're in the same situation that we were just in, because we took it for granted, the work that we did for ourselves, and again, like, we took for granted the boundaries that we built for ourselves. Earlier in the week, I don't know if you guys are keeping up with like the little quotes and stuff. Don't allow your boundaries to build walls. Allow your vulnerability to build bridges, right? You want to build bridges to bring good things into your life, and your boundaries is going to keep those things that may depress you or may keep you down, or those people that you feel like are just they're just taking your energy. You have to learn to pick and choose properly what it is you want to accept in your life and what you will not allow. Once you start opening your gates to allow everything in, it's just too much to process in life. So that's why we say, people are going to say, hey, you're being selfish because you're worried about just you. It's not about just you, it's more worrying about your self-worth and your mental. If you have a strong foundation in your life, there's no wind, there's no tsunami that's going to knock that building off, as long as your foundation is strong. So again, I just want a community where we have a variety of people talking about their stories. I want to get people not so much to the mountaintop, but at least I want to build a road or a path to help guide them to get there on their own. You're not,
You're not alone in this.
yeah, you're not alone in the things that you go through in your life. You just have to learn how to speak about them. Once you start bottling in a lot of things, bring me to Mount Everest. Okay. Once you learn that bottling stuff up and holding in negative energy is so tiring, right? And that was the issue that I had. I didn't want to speak about anything going on to me, right? I went through a point where I felt less of a man. Um, I didn't care about myself. My self worth was destroyed, and I just sat there and I accepted it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna tunnel vision. I'm just gonna keep to myself, focus on what I got to do. I have to make sure I'm making I have to make sure that I'm working every day. If there's extra hours, then I'm gonna take the extra hours, because I want to do this for my kids. I want my girls to have this. I got to make sure bills are paid. This, and I was never making room for myself. So as I'm trying to build for someone else, I'm destroying my own foundation, because I was allowing my self worth to diminish. I wasn't setting boundaries for myself. I was allowing the things that were harmful and detrimental to not only my mental, but my physical. I was allowing that stuff to affect me. And I thought that, oh, well, if I just focus on tunnel vision, maybe I'll walk far enough to where, like, this won't bother. No. When you don't work on your traumas, it sticks with you for life. You have to learn to fix those traumas, or not so much fix them, how to diminish it to where it doesn't affect you anymore, right? Because I don't really think you can get rid of pain, but you can control how it affects you.
Mm-hmm. And the definition of insanity is doing something over and over again and expecting a different result. So If you don't put yourself first, if you don't seek that change, you will continue to stay where you're at, and that growth won't come. So continue growing, continue focusing on yourself is the best advice that I can give you. Make your healing your journey. It is your journey, and then don't let anyone tell you like, hey, this is the right way, this is the wrong way. As long as you are actually on a healing path, you're working on yourself, there's gonna be growth. You cannot heal in the same environment that hurt you. Remember that. You cannot heal in that same environment. So put yourself first, put a foot forward, baby steps, big steps. Normally baby steps work better. Will get you to a better, happier, mental, physically, whatever you want it to be. Just make sure to choose you first. And then you'll be able to pour into everybody else's cup.
Yeah. No, we want you to be the fountain, not the cup. That way, if you want to pour into other people, there's enough water, you know? But, she does. I'm telling you. Well, if you know the story, you know the story. But, I guess we can kind of, since we got a couple more minutes, we can kind of like open it up to the chat. If there's anything that you kind of want to touch base on.
Gross in the concrete. I love that, Brandon.
I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah,
we might have to save that one. No,
I remember it.
You know what? You know what, Brandon? I'm gonna do a video just for you on that one. I got you. I like that. But yeah, anything that you guys want to speak on, you're more than welcome to talk to us about what it is that you. Thank you, Cindy. Talk to us about what it is that you want to listen on, even if we're not. How to explain it? Even if we're not like fully aware of whatever it is that you request, Diana and I have no problems looking up literature and stuff to kind of go through literature and see like what's worked for others. Because I know a lot of people don't like to read, but Diana loves reading. So, and now I have to start reading now too because of this podcast.
Guys, he's almost done with another book. I'm so proud of him.
So, like I said, if there's topics that you want to touch on, we are willing to do the work that we have to do to kind of get information on that topic and how we can help you kind of navigate and maybe give you ideas on how you can address that topic. But like I said, self-worth should always be number one, and that's what you're going to hear a lot in here preached. I don't think there's going to be a podcast where we don't talk about self-worth, because for us, we learned that was number one priority.